I have something to admit. I have rage quit. Well, I rage quit for one day. So why did I rage quit? Well, you could probably guess why. Because I couldn't get something to work the way I wanted it to work. The silver lining is, it gives me something to talk about in this video. So I'll start with the story of how things weren't working. I had this idea to follow up the scene you saw at the start of the video. You had this pile of rocks blocking the road, you got this old man revving his engine waiting for them to be removed, and you have this worker who won't remove them until he gets the perfect sandwich created by the gods themselves. Anyway, later on in the game, you find this guy. So he's eating a sandwich on the side of the road on a table, and his head is a giant sandwich. You talk to him, and turns out he's a bit of a prick, and you get into a fight with him. And the sort of things he says makes you realise that he is the sandwich that the worker was talking about. So you beat him in the fight, his body dissolves, and you can pick up this divine sandwich and give it to the worker. The worker thanks you by doing the job he was meant to do the whole time, and is promptly run over by the old man who was waiting for him. So now, you can go and avenge the worker, and also the pathetic stop sign man, by beating their killer in a race. Make sense? Yep, classic story. Classic story. So anyway, I'm trying to design this car race, and I kept running into some problems. The main problem was that when you went down, and the animation for the car was facing down, the last frame of the animation would just flicker off to the right every single time. It took me forever to manage to fix it, and I did eventually fix it. And then a few hours later, it just went back to doing it again after I changed nothing. So anyway, that was the last straw on the camel's back, and I rage quit. So when I was rage quit, I was thinking about, well, what's the right thing to do now that I've just quit for what I'm doing? So the first and obvious option was just cut my losses and do something other than what I'd planned. So no more car race. Another idea I had was to perhaps adapt it into something different. So using what I'd already tried to make and just turn it into something that could work around the problem I had. And the final option was to just beat my head against the wall and have another go at my original idea for the car racing scene. In the end, I actually did go back to the original idea, and I got it to work to a point that I'm pretty happy with now. But was that actually the correct option? I came to the conclusion that any of the three options would have actually been fine. The thing that mattered was that I'd stopped working while I was getting frustrated and left my brain some space to think, and then had another go at it when I felt better. I think that this is actually what's important when something's going wrong. Rage quitting is actually perfectly fine, so long as it's followed up by planning what your next step is and then going back to do it. What that next step is exactly, well, that's not actually important.